I didn't truly mean it. I thought it was just a throwaway comment. One of those careless remarks you make when the silence feels too loud, when all the unspoken tension becomes too heavy to hold alone. He used to say things like that too, little jokes about keeping me safe. About how no harm could reach me while he was around. And for a while I believed it. I held on to his words like a child clings to a flashlight in the dark. Because for once in my life I felt protected. Not just by locks or doors but by his presence. By the steady comfort he brought without ever needing to shout about it. But over time something quietly shifted. It wasn't a dramatic fall. Not the kind that shakes the ground. It was small at first. Like the barely audible groan of a structure weakening beneath the surface. A growing stillness. A longer pause before a response. A soft distance forming between us. And before either of us fully noticed, the space between grew wider. The light dimmed. The warmth began to fade. I remember that evening vividly. We sat side by side on the couch, our bodies close, but our minds miles apart. The TV flickered with some old rerun. Noise neither of us was watching. The room felt tight, not with comfort, but with things left unsaid. So many nights spent dodging the truths we were too scared to speak. And then it slipped from my lips. Unplanned, sharp, almost instinctive. "You're not as strong as you think." I didn't shout. I wasn't even mad. Just a quiet sentence, heavy with exhaustion. I hadn't meant to hurt him. Not really. But there was a sting in it. A resentment I hadn't even realized I was holding. Came from somewhere buried. A place where love had started to feel like a duty. Where disappointment had quietly taken root. I was angry he hadn't shown up for me in the ways I needed. That the promises he once made, to protect, to stay, felt like fading echoes. And I was angry at myself too. For needing him so much. For wishing he could be everything, when that was never fair to ask. So I said it as if it didn't matter. As if it were nothing more than a passing thought. But I saw the shift in his face. The way his eyes met mine, searching, uncertain if I really meant it. There was pain in that pause. A quiet kind of heartbreak. But he didn't argue. He didn't question. He just stood up slowly, like the air had suddenly grown too thick to breathe. I thought he was going to pour a glass of water, or maybe tidy something just to escape the tension, like he usually did. But instead he walked to the door, picked up his jacket and left. No words. No explanation. Just the soft sound of the door clicking shut behind him. And silence. I sat frozen, convinced he would return. He always came back. That was who he was. Grounded, reliable. The one thing I thought would never change. But this time he didn't. I stayed up the whole night, eyes fixed on the door. Listening to each car that passed. Hoping one would slow and stop. But morning came. His side of the bed untouched. His shoes missing. And the air felt hollow without his breath beside mine. At first I told myself he needed time. That this was just a pause, not the end. But as the days dragged on, the silence between us deepened. My calls went straight to voicemail. My messages were opened but met with nothing. It was like I had broken something fragile with one sentence. Something I didn't even know was already close to breaking. I wandered the house like a ghost. Sitting in all the places where we used to laugh. Wondering when it started slipping. I thought back to those small, forgettable moments. The brief glances. The quiet dinners. The invisible drift we both ignored. Maybe he had been stepping away for a while. Or maybe I had let go first without realizing it. I kept replaying that night in my head over and over. Trying to decode what I truly meant. Was I doubting his strength? His love? Or was I trying to say I felt vulnerable and alone, like I was carrying everything on my own? I still don't fully know. But I do know those words hit something sacred. That I challenged the one thing he held onto tightly. His belief that he could be my safe place, even when the world around him was falling apart. I went through old photos. My hands shook as I touched those frozen memories. I found one of us from way back. His arm around me, my laughter caught mid-breath. That easy smile of his, boyish and warm. We looked untouched. like nothing could break us. But now I know we were never unbreakable. We were human, delicate, and I never asked what he needed from me. I was so focused on him being my support that I never offered to be his. I never gave him the space to fall, to be vulnerable, to be human too. And now he's gone. I don't know if he'll ever come back. If I'll hear his laugh again or see that soft look in his eyes. I don't know if healing is still possible. But I know one thing. I can't keep pretending to be okay when I'm not. I can't keep hiding behind sarcasm to cover how badly I miss him. I pushed him away in the very moment I needed him to stay. And now I have to live in the silence I helped create. Maybe one day I'll find the courage to reach out. Maybe one day he'll walk back through that door. But for now I have to figure out how to live with the absence. How to build strength not from someone else, but from the broken pieces inside me I've spent years ignoring. And maybe that's the hardest thing of all.